that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran.
Sudan.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, they haven't, it's not like that plan was followed perfectly to a T, but a lot of it sure was.
I love it when Dave Smith goes on the Joe Rogan podcast because he is breaking down the infrastructure of America to a T, as much to a T as he's going to, right? I've discussed this before on a previous episode about how, you know, our foreign policy and the fact that we change out governments, right? And I'm going to show the bigger, like, I'm going to play that whole clip for you guys. And well, it doesn't even have to be the whole clip. After we talk about Joe Rogan and everything, please stick around. I never ask people to stick around because I just feel like the video should be good enough where you just want to stick around. But please, 2 minutes after this part is all we need for the breakdown. Let's look at a little bit more of this.
Like insane that this was just said. And that's not just like if we didn't have such a corrupt press, how do they not talk about that every day?
Every day.
Like, what is
exactly? He's like, every day. It's just funny. Like, how don't they? You see what I'm saying? Listen, do you see what I'm saying? This is what I mean. Like, yo, like, okay, let me take a break. Because it does get you that emotional where you're like, this is insane. Like, but it is. It's absolutely insane. It is. We have a press that's supposed to report to us what we're doing. That's supposed to keep us informed about what our government is doing. That's in fact what the press is supposed to do. And this is why they are covered by the Constitution to tell us whatever they find out, right? Nobody reported this on Fox News, right? And I've used Fox News as an example because that when you leave the left or, you know, I hate these terms, but I understand why I have to use them. When you leave the left, you really think like Fox News, this is it, man. I'm going to get all the news. No, man, it's 2 arms of the same machine. It really is. That's for a baby conservative or something like, but it's 2 arms of the same machine. So that's why people come to places like this channel where we bring the asteroid to you. What is the asteroid? The asteroid, the truth, the light, the real news, right? Or at least we talk about things in a balanced manner. So if you guys like the way we have this discussion, you know, how we talk about things, please don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. I really like making these videos and talking about things in reality. It's something we don't get anymore. Reality is a hot commodity out here.
That never come up. Oh, it's like, oh, as we fought all of these wars, no one went, but this is exactly what I heard Mr. 4-star General tell me was your plan. And you've never come to the American people and said, this is my plan. You're just like, so, and what's really interesting about it, right, is it just reveals this like the way propaganda works. Because if you think about it, we start fighting the war in Afghanistan. We're in the war in Afghanistan by late 2001. It's not till 2003 we're in Iraq. Right. And then it's not till 2010 that we're in Libya, 2012, we're in Syria, you know, and then in Yemen, then in all the, and it's like each time they had their own little propaganda story for why we had to go into this war now. And you're like, no, motherfucker, this was always planned. You decided in 2001 you were doing this. So don't tell me this is because Gaddafi's about to go genocidal or because Saddam has weapons of mass destruction or because Bashar al-Assad is killing his own people. It's like, no. This is just your latest little excuse now for the war that you already wanted to do. And that's how this shit really works, man. It's like they decide they want to fight these wars. Then they make up a bullshit excuse that they tell the American people. Then these weapon companies rake in hundreds of billions of dollars in profits and babies get slaughtered. Like that's what really happens. Like innocent men, women, and children die, get exploded to death, starve to death, get displaced. Like it's just the most evil shit in the world.
And we want to think of ourselves as a good guy.
Like, you know, and it's true. I mean, it's true. And I think this was actually the person put this out 10 months ago. Shout out to them, poor thing, American Revert. I don't know who they are. They only have 2 subscribers. So shout out to them. I was able to use that. But the fact is, he broke it down beautifully. I didn't even want to cut it off because he's right, you know. And if this was 10 months ago, you could say, The person uploaded this 10 months ago, but I can only imagine that this might have been from like at least over a year ago, right? And it feels like he's talking about it like this just came out yesterday. And I'm probably going to have, no, I'm going to let it play. I want you guys to hear at least, you know, the first 5 minutes is all you really need. So please, this is one I've never asked y'all to do. Watch the whole 5 minutes. I'm not going to even talk.
10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me. And one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me." And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, "You remember that?" He said, "Sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you."
I'm sorry. What did you say?
As a matter of fact, it wasn't even 5 minutes. It was only a minute and 52 seconds, right? And I mean, like, yeah, you know, in the end, it's like, chuckles, you know, we laugh about it. I want you to hear the key points, though. Everything has to look like a hammer and a nail. That means that we have to have an appropriate story. Okay, so we're going to go into Iraq. Okay, what is Saddam connected to Al-Qaeda? Did we find anything new that way? No. And that's when he says everything looks like a hammer and a nail. We have a good military to change out governments. Okay? When you say, did we find anything new that way with Saddam and Al-Qaeda? If I don't remember anything else, I do remember that they were connecting Saddam and Al-Qaeda on the news, along with weapons of mass destruction. Now, when you talk about we got a good army, so we're going to change out governments. So even if you don't care about a single child in the Middle East, right? I have to respect that there are people who don't care about that. The American blood to change out governments, is that worth it? Right? Okay, so before we even get there, we name the countries. And we have been to every one of these countries. And we have had our way in these countries. All but one. All but one. And that's Iran, right? And, well, let's just say on October 7th, I knew that Iran was coming up soon, right? And I don't want to go too further into this, but it is important that we understand that what's really happening out here, you know, it's very important because it's the same playbook. I remember with Muammar Gaddafi. This is when I looked at Obama and I said, who is this guy? Because all of a sudden he's just Muammar Gaddafi. I said, who is Muammar Gaddafi? I'm in America. I don't care about Muammar Gaddafi. Why do we need to take him out? Huh? He hates your democracy. That's what they always tell you. And then there's a Libyan slave trade going on afterwards. Whatever, right? Maybe it's all coincidental. Maybe I just let it marinate.